Hi, and welcome to this presentation of Digital Writing in QuickBooks. Well, there's no question, QuickBooks definitely helps a company be more efficient in terms of managing its transaction, money, and a host of other things. However, none of this is possible until the company gets all their content, information, documentation, and data into QuickBooks. What we're going to see today is how digital writing, working with QuickBooks, eliminates the need for a person or a company to do all that manual processing and gives that organization, your customers, a real-time capture the process solution, saving them money and time and helping you to grow your business and your revenue. For those of you that are seeing digital writing for the first time, digital writing allows any business to turn their documents into an intelligent workflow solution, giving them real-time capture of their mission-critical documents and data using traditional pen and paper or tablet technology. And we do this without changing the way they do business or the way their employees work. So to understand how digital writing can change the way a business processes their documentation into QuickBooks, we first have to look at the document workflow within an organization. Now, it generally starts with our field workers or our employees on the front line. They're charged with collecting all the documents and the information that's necessary for the company to do business. They in turn take all that documentation and pass it off to our administrators. Our administration department is charged with validating that information, making sure T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and if there are any calculations or information that's mandatory, it's all in the documentation. If anything's missing, it generally goes back to our frontline or field workers for those corrections to be taken care of. Once the documentation is correct, then we can do things like data entry, indexing, scanning, and distributing that content to the other departments and stakeholders. We do all of this manual processing in order to get the information into QuickBooks, where QuickBooks can do what it does best. Now, as you notice, there are a lot of red dollar signs here, and these red dollar signs indicate touch points or bottlenecks within the process where a user is engaged in a process. And anytime we have a user engaged in a process or touching our documentation or having to do something with it, it costs the organization money. So when we look at that same workflow, but now using digital writing, again, it starts with our field workers and our frontline employees. Nothing's changed there. Not even the documentation or anything they do. They do the same thing exactly as they did before. But now, they submit all that information into digital writing. And digital writing does all of those manual things that you saw in the previous workflow. It also simultaneously sends that information into QuickBooks, where it is now available to our accounting team. Digital writing also can share that information with every other stakeholder or department within the organization, including other applications, whether they exist on-premise or in the cloud. When we talk about the cost of processing a document, we have to look at the different things that our users have to do with our documentation and data, and then put a time value on that. So going through that workflow, we're going to allow 10 minutes just for validation, validating the documents, making sure the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. 5 minutes to do data entry, another 5 minutes to do scanning and document prep for digitizing, 5 minutes to distribute the content to the next people in the workflow process, and finally 5 minutes to put that in a file folder, file cabinet, or put it away. In all, it's taken an administrator 30 minutes to process one transactional document. At an average salary of $15 an hour, that transactional document, that one document, is costing $7.50 to process. And these are all mandatory non-revenue producing tasks that our administrators have to do just to get this information into QuickBooks so that we can finally do the billing or the shipping or the processing of that transaction. To look at it another way, Again, those 5 mandatory things that have to be done in a manual process. The cost of $7.50 per document. If our administrator just processes 5 documents in a day, it's costing $40 to just process those 5 transactions. As you see in this graph, digital writing, the green bar across the bottom, can do all of those things in real time, and the cost doesn't change whether it's 1 document, 5 documents, or 100. Everything is completely automated, which gives all of that time and resources back to the company. The last thing is the collection of those documents and that information. In a typical workflow, we have to wait for our field and frontline employees to get all that information into our administrators. Digital writing does this all in real time, as opposed to waiting hours, days, and weeks for that information just to be brought into the administration department to be processed. So, now let's take a look at a demonstration of digital writing working with QuickBooks so you can see how efficient this really is. So now what I want to do is switch over to my tablet. And you're looking at my iPad right now, and the app that we use on the tablet is called Natural Forms. Once the user logs in, press on the menu, and they're presented with a list of all the documents that are available to them on the tablet. So today we're going to be doing a work order. So I create the work order. So now here's my document. The first thing I want to bring your attention to is that you're going to notice these fields that are outlined in red. These are called mandatory fields, and we can make any field in the document mandatory. This ensures that for every submitted document, we are getting all the necessary information we need in the office to process this document once it's received. So let's get started. All I need to do is tap on a field and start filling it out. Digital writing allows me to use cursive handwriting or the integrated keyboard to fill in the fields. Okay, first name, last name, put in company, and the address, we're going to slide over here. We can incorporate things such as the date wheel. Enter in our phone number, city, zip code. We'll put in an email address, okay, and we also can incorporate checkboxes, drop-down lists, checkboxes, radio buttons, everything to make the document easier for our people to fill it out. So here we're going to do some calculations. 7 is my quantity, part number. And this is a clutch. Oh, sorry about that. And the quantity is going to be $17.33. So now it did my calculations. We can also add drawings to our document. Timestamps for time in and time out in terms of work function. We can even have places where additional calculations or values can be added So our form will automatically redo those calculations so that our totals are always correct no matter what happens to the document. And last but not least, the signature. Okay, so now my document is all set. I hit the button at the top and submit this to my office. The login is just for revalidation. Now, this document is being sent back to the office for processing. Now, once the digital writing server collects this document, it's going to make sure that all the content is correct, then pass all this information off to QuickBooks. So now that the document has been submitted and I have my confirmation number there, let me jump over to my browser and see what we have in QuickBooks. All right. What I'm going to do first is just refresh to make sure that it's up to date and all the information is current. And if you had noticed, this originally was at around 24,000, and now with that new order, it's up to 28,000. So if I go in and I look at my open invoices, we're going to see that our invoice of $3,688, and let me just go back to the form and make sure, $3,688 is indeed already in QuickBooks and ready for processing. If I open up that transaction, we're going to see Beverly Harris, Harris Advertising, 23 Bond Street. The transaction, one item sold, the clutch, and with all the charges, everything is here. All I need to do is just process the invoice. So, you just saw how digital writing combined with QuickBooks gives you seamless straight-through processing of all or any kind of transactional document using tablet technology, or we can even do this with pen and paper. And everything automatically goes into QuickBooks in real time. Digital writing is accurate, secure, reliable, and scalable. There's no front-end development, there's no programming required, and there's no specialized training. All your customers need are their documents. For your customers, the combination of digital writing and QuickBooks makes them 100 times more efficient. It saves a tremendous amount of time and money in the collection and processing of data and documents. Our solution works online and offline, so the users in the field don't have to worry about whether they have an internet connection. They just go about doing their business, collecting their information, and when they have a connection, they submit it. It increases the efficiency of every employee, from the front line throughout the whole organization. It eliminates user intervention, the touch points that generally slow down our processes within the company. It also, you saw on the forms level and on the front end, we can eliminate errors and the loss of information by ensuring that our documentation is submitted correctly the first time. It improves cash flow because now your customers are processing transactions in real time versus waiting hours, days, and weeks to get that information into the office to get it into QuickBooks. This improves cash flow, customer service, and every single business process. And because we're ensuring that the data, the documents are collected and processed and distributed where they need to, it also helps a company meet compliance standards. As a QuickBooks professional, for you, you're seen as a strategic value-added solution provider. Not only are you showing them how QuickBooks can help them in terms of managing transactions, money, and a host of other things, you're also helping them to save a tremendous amount of time and money in collecting the documentation and the data and getting it into QuickBooks. This increases the values of your client's business exponentially makes them more efficient and more profitable. It also creates a hands-off revenue stream for you. Gives you a competitive edge over all your competition that allows you to exponentially grow your business and your revenue. We hope that you found this presentation to be quite helpful. Digital Writing in QuickBooks not only is going to help your customers, but will help you in terms of growing your business. For additional information, you can email us at partners@fjdassociatesinc.com or call us at 516-665-0144. There's additional information available on our website, and you can follow us on Twitter. Digital Writing in QuickBooks. One solution, unlimited potential.